Hello and welcome to another edition of 10 Count. For UCN Live, I'm Michael Montero, joined by Mike Baca of UCN and Doug Fischer of Ring TV. Last week we lost a friend of ours and the co-founder of Undisputed Champion Network, Damon Bingham. For those of you who don't know, Damon pretty much grew up in the sport. His father was Muhammad Ali's personal photographer. Damon was a producer and he worked on a lot of different documentaries over the years. He worked on some films. He produced a documentary about Tyson. He did a 30 for 30 show, one night in Vegas, I believe in 2010. That was about Tupac getting shot. He really loved this sport. And Damon wanted to do something different with this channel, not just be another boxing channel on YouTube, but tell stories. That was something he always talked to me about. Doug, if you could just tell us a little bit about how you met Damon and some thoughts about him.
Well, I've always known about his family because Muhammad Ali is the reason I have an interest in boxing. I'm not a sports fan at all. You talk to me about basketball or football, I'm going to look at you like you're speaking another language. I've always had a love for boxing going back to the 70s, and it's because of Muhammad Ali. And because of that, I read everything I could on Muhammad Ali, which means I was reading also about his father, Howard Bingham, who actually in his own right is a legendary photographer. He was Ali's personal photographer, but he was also the personal photographer for many African-American celebrities and numerous news magazines in the 60s and in the 70s. So really, Howard Bingham was sort of a crusading photojournalist. And Damon had that journalistic background in his approach to producing documentaries and segments about boxing because he knew the sport intimately. I met Howard Bingham as a newspaper writer for Wave newspapers back in 1993, and a wonderful, beautiful man. And Damon is much like his father, a big guy, but a gentle giant, very soft-spoken and very serious about what he did. When I first met Damon Bingham was, I believe in 2000, during the production of the Ali film that starred Will Smith in the title role. And he brought me in just basically originally to sort of serve as an extra, as one of the members of the media. I didn't do that, but he took me on the set, took me to the production studios of Michael Mann, I believe, and it was kind of cool, because they were asking me questions about Ali, and I kind of likened myself as an amateur boxing historian. But really, from that point on, and this is 15, 16 years ago, and I was still new as somebody who was covering the boxing scene, and websites didn't get a lot of respect back then. Just the internet covering boxing from press row was still something new. And there were a few people who were always encouraging to myself and to Steve Kim, who worked with me with the old houseofboxing.com and maxboxing.com, which was sort of our launch pad into the sport as boxing writers and boxing commentators. And Damon Bingham was one of those driving forces, one of those people who was already sort of at that level. He's a producer, a Hollywood producer. And he was always encouraging and pushing us, and for that I'll always be grateful.
Absolutely. Mike, do you have any thoughts about Damon?
Yeah, you mentioned encouraging and pushing. Damon is the person who put me in front of a camera. I wouldn't be here without Damon. It's just a fact. The first time I met him in person was at Fortune's Gym last June before the Jesse Vargas-Tim Bradley fight. I was supposed to interview Jesse Vargas, and I ended up interviewing Eric Morales, and I was sweating bullets. Sweating bullets. Never been on camera before, never really even interviewed fighters, really, just over the phone. That was my experience. And Damon, as calm as he could, just tried to relax me and say, take it easy, it's really no big deal. That was his biggest thing. And it turns out I did okay, for the fact that it was my first time. And another memory I have of him, only knowing him about a year, I had to give him I had to give him a ride home once, and we didn't really, know each other. And he saw a CD laying on my seat, and it was of Fela Kuti, who's this African composer, and I have obviously a broad taste in music, and it's an Afro jazz genre. And he looked at me, at this little white kid, you know, just like, how do you know Fela Kuti? And it was playing in my CD player, and we enjoyed it as we were stuck in traffic on the 110. And it was during that time I got to know him a little bit better, talk about, you know, him with Tyson all through the years, and, you know, him being a godchild to Muhammad Ali. And, you know, it was very shocking and sad hearing his passing, and, you know, we're still coming to grips with it.
I'm still in shock about it. Real quick, you know, you guys talked a little bit about his soft-spoken nature, his sense of humor. Every time I talked to Damon on the phone, he would almost start every phone call with a really dry joke, and he would deliver it in his way where he's, you know, so soft-spoken and so dry, I wouldn't get it. And there would be this awkward silence, and I'd say, like, what did you say? And Damon would go, that was a joke. And then we'd just start laughing. He was just a really, really great man, and I'll forever be indebted to him because he gave me a chance here at Undisputed Champion Network, and this is his show, and this whole thing was his brainchild, and you know, we're sitting here because of him. So thank you very much, Mr. Bingham, and may you rest in peace. For UCN Live, I'm Michael Montero with Mike Baca and Doug Fischer, and we'll see you guys next time at 10 Count.